So with the different foundation wise, right, the liquid because of emullency wise, what you see might not be what you get. You might, if you don't use it, it's about 1 to 2 tones lighter before you choose. Yeah, to match your skin itself because of the emullency inside. And why some people ask why this is SPF 30 and the cream is SPF 15? The textures play a part. Liquid wise, you can play with a lot more different sunscreen in it compared to a cream texture. And the more sunscreen add into a cream texture, it changes the product texture finishing. Right, just to let you know.
So what are the different finishes?
This one would be natural matte. And then for, if you want full matte, it would be always a powder. The powder because of the kaolin in it, so it will be full matte powder itself. Whereas for those who want the dewy finishing, even though whether, I know some customers they like dewy finishing itself, so I suggest the liquid foundation. But I'll use is the cream foundation first, and then followed by the liquid. So we can create a 3-dimensional look to the skin itself. Of course, there's always a brush in it. Personal preference up to you, but I always like to use external brush. Because she has great skin, what we're going to do is just use whatever we need, even out skin color. I realize with a lot of mistakes, most Singaporean women do is they powder too much product on their skin. And then you find that makeup will last, or they find that halfway through the day, their makeup streak. Just brush through. The other option will be your own from the brush inside. You just pick it up, and gently glide. When you glide product onto the skin itself, I realized that with a lot of people, with brushes, they always find that streak marks. Streak marks because you press too hard. Remember the face is 3-dimensional, so when you press, right, you have to glide the face motion. You cannot treat it light or flat surface. Then you get flat surface results. Gently glide through. Should be enough, even enough. You can see the difference. Yes. Right. Immediately there's always enough coverage, and those with bigger pores, you'll find that when you apply, because of the polyethylene in it, you find your skin, the pore looks smaller as well. And once again, personal preference, you use foundation brush. There's also like the bigger synthetic powder brush. I like to use it to shear the product out. Different brushes will give different finishing. For example, use a bigger brush now, and just brush it up. Immediately it takes up away a lot more of the foundation, leaving a natural finishing behind. But eventually you'll notice the fact that when I apply on, it's always a matte finish. Because I'm wearing a color, and my color is darker than hers. Because my face is pasty white. Karen will tell you. You should see my face without makeup, it's totally like bleh.
He's lying.
When you apply foundation, we always try to apply foundation and separate the face in 3 portions. So we start from one portion, move the other part, and move the other part. I know most women have no time and want the quickest way you dot, 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 and start spreading. And then you look like dot, 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 and start spreading. Okay? Buff it across. Because she has great skin, we will sustain that great skin itself. And I realized with a lot of people is that they try not to blend foundation into the hairline. So you get one whole line here and then foundation, or they think they're bangs, okay, bangs, and then you don't blend it. The wind blow, they tilt it a bit, and it's a different color. Foundation is used to evoke skin color, not to hide. That's the most mistake people here do. Why I use a more bigger, fluffier brush is because it's almost like spraying a foundation across. And of course, doing it on your own self will be much easier because you just do it and just glide accordingly. But understand your face shape. Because when I tell people to just take and glide, they go buff, how patchy, and then you realize that they go there, they rub really hard. So remember the extension is here, right? So when you apply on, it's always according to the face shape. Move according to the face shape, right? Because there's no such thing as a ugly woman, just lazy ones. Because we've seen all the celebrities without makeup.
That's ugly.
The interesting thing about this is that once it goes on to a natural matte finishing, if you want more coverage, you can take a bit more and layer on for more coverage, for that occasional pimple that you think you need to hide, or like under the eye a bit. But keep the product sheer so you can still see skin. So the skin will still look natural now. If you want to, you can choose to use a bit under the eyes. So use a wax-based eyeliner.
No, I'm using Body Shop eyeliner as well.
The pencil, right?
Yeah.
Because it's medium coverage, it can cover slight under eye circle. Of course, if you want like total correction wise, I'll suggest a more dense concealer.
Yeah.
Let me finish up the rest of the makeup. The difference now is I'm giving her a slightly bronze look with a fresh finish foundation. To keep that radiant look wise, I know in Asia we always like the matte finishing, but the matte finishing can be kept in the center area, where the glowy stuff can be to the side. That way the skin will always look three-dimensional, rather than keeping the skin always like matte and matte and matte. Eventually in picture it looks too powdered up, and then we perceive the makeup as very made up. The trick is not to apply too much foundation across the whole face, but to apply enough concealer under the eye. That's the trick for the made up look. So I've taken a slightly darker foundation to give the natural contour, slightly sun-kissed look wise. I'll just apply on the area where it's higher, the higher points. And this is on the liquid foundation. I always love using Body Shop's synthetic brushes because it's much easier, and with foundation application using synthetic brushes, it's almost like spraying on the foundation and not like lathering it on. Why use a darker foundation, more three-dimensional? It's great for sculpting. And of course, if you do the sides, right, the excess on the brush, finish your makeup and go like, wow, too red patch for color here, or this too white thing here itself. You see the dewy finishing? It will have a fresh finishing.
Yeah.
Can you see that? A bit more separated. There's more matte here, but more three-dimensional. It's slightly dark here as well. So there's more depth to it. It's about introducing different tones upon the skin. It's more of a modern way to sculpt, like our own face, rather than basing everything on the powders, which give you a more matte finishing. How do you do that? You can start from apples or cheek and blend up, or just a higher point, and then to the temple. When we apply foundation on the cell, I always suggest to step back from the mirror and double check. Because if the window is one side and your mirror's in front, with window on one side, you find that the side that's furthest away from the window is the most coverage. And as you step out, you find that one side is thicker than the other. And you oh dear, then tissue, wet wipe, finger saliva. Top it up with the lip balm. start to emulsify the product. And let's mattify the T-zone area. You mattify it with a touch of powder. But slowly focusing only on the T-zone area.
What about the difference when you use the kabuki brush?
Okay, sure. With kabuki brush, right, because it's more dense, when you apply on, there's more coverage. So the denser the brush, the more coverage it will be. So the kabuki brush wise, let's forget kabuki brush. Okay. The denser the brush, the higher the coverage. You can even use the kabuki brush for liquid foundation or cream foundation, depending on the coverage you want. Okay. But for this, we're going to just use powder. Pick it up, just dab it, right? Okay. And buff it into the brush. Once you buff the brush, just gently tap and glide on. That will give more coverage. And because it's more dense, when you impact upon the skin itself, the coverage will be higher and it will be more matte. You visually see that it's more matte if I use kabuki brush. So once again, personal preferences depend on what you like yourself. Because I might like certain things, certain people might like different things itself. It's all about personal preference. Inspect the skin. Just show them online. Can you see how it looks like? Sorry, pass you the mirror.